Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's the agenda. It's me, Mr. B. We got Dora in the house and lighting up the place with his lovely shiny forehead is Jay. How you doing, big man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Is this you presenting now? Where's they left you in charge?
Yeah, they've had to. car, car crashing coming.
Mate, no, I'm impressed, man. Like you know what I mean. Like it's like when the grown-ups have gone out and they left the kids on their own to their own devices, and you've just, do you know what I mean? You've shone, you've stepped up, man. I'm impressed. It's all good.
Oh, thanks. How Dora? I know you were sick last week. How are you anyway, my dear? You good?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, that's what I like to hear. So, Jay, I know it's been forever and a day. Look, you see Solo's in the house asking me why I'm late. Thank you very much. Rather
You
than
can throw me under the bus, Mr. B. You can say you're late because forgive me as well, Dora. Say that on camera. I was a few minutes late because I was just sorting my hair out, obviously. So we are 5 minutes late because of me. Because I've just finished one podcast with Scotty and Martin and straight onto this one. So apologies.
see, no problem. You don't even need to apologize. Solo, you know what he's like. He's our like policeman at the moment. If we don't get more than 30 likes, he's moaning at us, moaning. But look, a couple of things broke over the weekend. Obviously, we couldn't get a stream up, and I've been watching you, so I kind of know what your opinions are. But we made a signing, which surprised everybody, to be fair. It reminded me of the Andy Cole signing where nobody knew a thing, and then all of a sudden, bang, it was out there. We shocked the world with this one. What's your opinion on this one, Jay?
I love the fact you're comparing it to the Andy Cole signing. I'm all about that. That Andy Cole signing, right, was the best signing we've ever made, I think, in my lifetime, in terms of the shock, the sort of the way it felt. Because I remember I was a kid and Andy Cole was banging him in for Newcastle, and this is how long ago it was. This is before the internet and things like that. You couldn't just go online and you'd see it all over social media. And I remember getting home from school, a newspaper had dropped. We used to get an evening newspaper, the Manchester Evening News, and on the front and back page was like Cole joins United, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing because this is a kid who just been banging in goal after goal for Newcastle. So I was so buzzing, and yeah, that was one of the greatest moments I've had as a United fan in terms of a signing where you go, look, we're signing a player that I rate, love, and has actually come to United. It was amazing. With this one, it's a lot different because I ain't gonna lie to you. Unlike a lot of United fans, up until Saturday evening, I'd never heard of the guy. I didn't know who he was. I didn't. Like, everyone was an Omar Berrada expert by like 8:10 on Saturday. They were giving me his CV and telling me how much they'd always wanted him. I'd never heard of the geezer. But once I realised we got him and I looked at it, there's a lot to like about him. He's had success at Manchester City. He's obviously got that pedigree, got that experience in his CV of someone who can run a football club, can run a football department. That's what's been lacking at United. And it's not always a case of that you need the biggest name or the ex-player or whatever, because when we've had certain roles at United in the past or names linked with him, people have gone, oh, well, you want to go and get Patrice Evra or with, Rio Ferdinand or whoever. And listen, I respect those guys, the legends. But for certain roles, you want people who have experience of that role. Mm. Now, I know he's not been a CEO at City, but he's been everything sort of leading up to that. He's been like a chief operating officer. He's been involved in the transfers. He's got mad connections from his time at Barcelona, at City. He's facilitated some of the most successful transfers in recent memory, if we're being brutally honest. So it makes sense to me. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that on Saturday morning when I woke up, I was going, you know what, if United can get Omar Berrada, we'll be set. Because I wasn't, because I'd never heard of the guy. But now it's happened. I like it. I think, okay, it makes sense because we've been sat here looking at investment bankers overseeing the footballing department of Manchester United as we fall miles behind our rivals. Mm. And we've all been saying the same thing. You can't run a club like this in the modern era. You need football people who know what they're doing, in charge of footballing decisions and footballing departments. And that is how it feels now under Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So I think the right sort of way to term this I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. It makes sense to me. It looks like a good appointment. I'm not going to pretend I knew loads about him, but from what I've read, I like it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this guy working at Manchester United, working for a big club for a change.
So the Dora, the fact that he oversaw a lot of what's the word, alleged dodgy deals at Man City, is this something that the club need to be worried about?
I mean, to be quite honest with you, even though I would like for City to be relegated into one Rama tier in England, I think that we are safe for now. If he's involved, he was the CEO. It would be very strange if he didn't know what is happening, under his nose. Am I worried right now? No, because I think I just wish that guy, does amazing job here. And then if FA or, UK government, catch him, let him go to jail, whatever you want to do with him. I just need him to do a proper job at United. I'm not worried for now. I think even that whole process is kind of still going slow. I saw that some people are posting some of the reports that the secret interviews or whatever, which kind of didn't.
Yeah.
They're not that important as some people like to think, in sense of it's nothing. I mean, that City has an army of lawyers that are trying to do their best to keep their records clean or whatever. But yeah, I'm with Jay, right? I don't know this guy. I'm just glad that Ineos and Jim Ratcliffe are doing progressive things for the club. They are appointing experienced people in the board from the business side and the footballist side of the things, which I love. I know that Berrada was in charge of Haaland deal, Alvarez deal, and all those great transfers in the last few years, and that makes me hopeful, right? Because this club didn't do a proper deal in the last 10 years, and it's always good to see a person with pedigree and experience to come at your club, and I hope that he does a really good job.
We can all hope. This is a quote from Romano. The new Manchester United board would not allow non-performing players to stay at the club for several years. Omar Berrada feels that players have to perform or leave the club within 1 or 2 years. Do you think that's something that, because obviously that's not something that Manchester United do. Do you think that's something that they're going to start doing, Jay?
Do you see how crazy it is that we're in a situation where it's almost breaking news when we find out that the club are going to do something that's so obvious and basic that it makes your mind boggle? Like, if you're not performing after 2 years, you're going to have to leave Manchester United. Obviously, that's how it should be. Yet we're in a situation where that isn't how it is at United. You can underperform for about 4 years and then get a new deal. That's how it's been at Manchester United, because we've been run shambolically. So when you hear something, other fans of well-run clubs must look at that and go, "Wow, United fans are getting excited about that." That's like obvious. If you don't perform, then you get 1 or 2 years to show what you're about. And if you've not done it by then you moved on, which is the way it would have happened under Fergie. If you didn't perform in 1 or 2 seasons under Sir Alex, you didn't get a third. You were done. But under the new regime, or since Fergie retired, we've seen players who've had half a good season and 3.5 bad ones, and they're given a contract extension. It's insane. But that is where we're at as Manchester United fans. The bar is so low, that we're getting a bit excited about things that are obvious. But we're right to get excited about them, because it shows finally, as Dora was mentioning there, grown up thinking, like joined up thinking, like acting like a proper football club. Because we haven't been doing that since Fergie retired, if we're being honest. Over the last 11 years, we've been handing out massive contracts to players that have been underperforming. We've been giving out wages that no other club would give out. We've been making signings where we've overpaid for players. We've been bringing in players who only suit one manager, and when that manager gets sacked, they don't suit his successor. That's not how you run a football club in the modern era. That's not how City, and it pains me to say it because, I hate them, and there's a good chance they might end up, it'll come unstuck when it comes to these charges. That's not how they've been doing things, and they've had success. It's not even how Liverpool have had success, have been doing things. And we need to start acting like a proper football club. So, yeah, it's an obvious thing to do, but it's something we haven't been doing. So when I hear that, I'm glad. I'm also a bit embarrassed about the fact that I'm glad about something, which is so obvious. If you're rubbish, after 2 years, we don't keep you around. That's how it should be, but that's not how it's been at United in the past.
Is Ten Hag under that pressure?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, Dora.
He
Go on.
definitely.
Sorry.
No. I mean, he should be. I mean, if this is a normal club, and you know what, I always want, my manager and my players to succeed as its club, because it is, of course, it is important for the success of Manchester United, but he's been underperforming for months right now. I mean, 14 losses in one season, going out of the Champions League before Christmas. That's a sackable offense. Yes, we are, quite poor. Not quite poor. We are poor. I mean, this is the worst United we had in the last, so many years. But we are still Manchester United. I mean, we are in the mud, but we are still, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And you see these kind of, and then you see the amount of money that is spent in the squad, and the salaries of these players, and the wages and bonuses. I mean, for what? For mediocrity. And of course, even though I dislike most of these players and the way they act, and the way they play for this team, or not, I would say, I think manager is he's under a huge pressure, because even his decisions at times, it seems like he was delusional. And I want to back him. I wanted him to succeed. I wanted him here after the failed Ragnick experiment. But I think that he feels that they are all in on the trial because of Ineos. They're all on the trial. I think if he doesn't get sacked before summer, and I feel that he is, because the way we play is not sustainable for top 10, I would say. If he survives until summer, he's gone. And it is what it is. Thank you for that cup, that third place. But this is a new season. We only regressed, unfortunately. And I think in any normal club that is a top tier club, that manager needs to be under a massive pressure, and I hope that he is, because the way the team is playing is absolutely atrocious.
Do you know what the irony is about that statement? Is when it comes to players, that's not how we've done things. We haven't. I mean, the statement by the club, not the statement Dora just made. I mean, about we haven't sort of given players 1 or 2 seasons. We've given him 3 or 4 or whatever. But with managers, we kind of have only given them 1 or 2 seasons. If you underperform as a manager, even under this ridiculous Glazer regime, which is, just been atrocious, managers haven't been given much time once things have gone wrong. Don't forget, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer finished 3rd and then finished 2nd, and was halfway through the next season when he got sacked, because they went, well, the wheels have come off here. Jose Mourinho finished 2nd and got to an FA Cup final, and again was sacked by Christmas, I think, when the wheels started coming off. This club and this board have been quite reactionary when it comes to managers. Managers aren't given time and patience. If you underperform as a manager, you're gone. Moyes was given 8 months. Van Gaal was sacked. I know it was a decision that was made before that, but he won the FA Cup and got sacked. So in terms of managers, we've been very quick to get rid of them when we think they're underperforming. It's just the players we haven't. And there's players now, you look at them and you think, the biggest example would probably be Anthony Martial. He's had, 3.5 poor seasons at the club. Would any other top club have a player that long on the books, earning a wage of like 250 grand or whatever he's on? You give him a season of that, maybe 2 at tops, not 3.5, where he's not really done much. I think it's 3.5. I think it was the last time he was really shining under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah,
but he's still earning a huge wage. There's been other players as well. Obviously, Phil Jones more or less ran his contract down. Was just shocking not just shocking, just wasn't playing for 3 years basically, but was still collecting a big wage. And we've seen that with quite a lot of players, where you need that bit more ruthlessness rather than just going, let's persevere with him. Look at City under Pep, right? Pep Guardiola's signings at Manchester City, maybe Berrada's been responsible for some of these. I hope he has, but they've been they've been quite ruthless when they needed to be. His signings have been really successful, but then the ones that haven't, when it's looked like they're not worked out, Claudio Bravo, for example, he didn't waste much time. Claudio Bravo was brought in to replace Joe Hart, and a lot of City fans I spoke to didn't want to see Joe Hart being replaced. They loved him. He was a great keeper, bit of a club hero. They'd won the league with him twice, I think. And he was only like 29 or whatever. He was quite young for a goalkeeper. Pep come in, he's like, he's not my guy, Claudio Bravo is. Claudio Bravo was a bit of a disaster, yeah? I was at least one of his first games was against United in the Manchester Derby, and he was all over the gaff. He was lucky not to get sent off. So what does Pep do? Does he give him another season? Does he wait? No. He brings in Edison almost immediately and makes that tough decision. So they've not had to make many of those decisions at City, but when they have, they've got him, they've been pretty quick with him. At United, it only tends to change with players when it's a new manager coming in and a new manager goes, I don't really fancy this guy that the predecessor bought. So when, Jose came in, there were certain players that had come in under Van Gaal that he didn't fancy. Ditto with Ole. Similar sort of thing with Eric Ten Hag, where he looked at certain players and said, oh yeah, I don't really fancy you, Harry Maguire, until recently when Harry Maguire got back in the team or whatever. But I think far too often, it's not even necessarily just being patient with him and giving him years and years and years. Sometimes it's just giving him a bigger contract when they don't deserve it. Nemanja Matic had, he had a purple patch, didn't he, where he had like 3 or 4 good games, had a good game against City, had a couple of other good games, and we gave him a 3-year extension, and he was 30 years old, and you're like, why have you done that? And it didn't make any sense to me. You're giving out these contract extensions all the time. You're giving out players like a bit more patience than they deserve. And I think that's where you need to have that balance right. You need to say, look, you get an opportunity at United and you get a certain amount of patience where it might take you a while to adjust to the league or to the team or whatever. But we can't just give you a sort of never-ending opportunity here. We have to say if it's not worked out after a year or two, you're on the move, and that's what a lot of clubs do, and it's only right.
What does Ten Hag have to do to keep his job? I'll be honest. I want Ten Hag to stay. I would rather he kicked out everything that he didn't want. Although saying that a couple of the players that he didn't want have probably been his best 2 players this season, i.e. McTominay and Maguire. I'm worried that he's not going to get the time. But I'm hoping with everything that's being placed above him and around him, he's just able to coach. But is he going to accept the fact that he's only going to be a coach and won't have any power?
I think he needs to. At Ajax, he was a managerial coach. He had over Marcel van der Sar and people who were, of course, he discussed which players which players are, good for his starting level, for his system and all that. But he had people that did jobs for him. I think what we lacked, and I agree with Jay, I think that, the whole infrastructure of the club is absolutely awful. It's not how the modern football club is supposed to be run. He was given a whole reign. He was looking, he was a scout. He was, identifying a talent and players who are going to, join the club and fit in his system. As we know, unfortunately, and I know some people are saying I hope I'm saying it's too early to say, but the way Onana is playing is, I'm not very sure about him, to say the least. Especially those AFCON games, like he is in slow motion, or he's. It seems like we signed someone else, not a goalkeeper, and that's worrying for me. Anthony, he's just he is what it is. He's just not built for this league, obviously, not just with his play, but with his everything else, right? He's just not built for the Premier League. It's too physical for him. He's not able to beat his own defender, which is appalling for a winger in this high or elite tier of football. And I think that he was given a lot of reign, but I think that's the consequence of bad United board, bad United infrastructure. And you could say that Ten Hag is a kind of a victim in that sense. But I think that, as well, if you have that much reign, that much power, I would say, in transfers and identifying your talent, I think you should do a good job doing that. And unfortunately, for now, it seems like he didn't do a very good job with his signings. Do I think he's going to stay in the summer? I don't think so. I think that Ineos are preparing, we obviously are seeing a new CEO being reinstated in the club. We will get a new board of people. Glazers are slowly but surely, getting away from the footballing decisions of the club. And I mean, there is a possibility that we are going to hire Dan Ensschwart or, whoever it is, experienced director of footballs, technical directors or whatever. And I think they will want their own new candidate to start all over again, which I hate to say. And I agree with Mr. B. I hate, that United is sacking managers every single, year, every other year, because the squad is poor. 90%. If we were the proper club, 90% of these players weren't. They wouldn't even be here. And it is what it is. But I mean, it's dire, and I think that he's kind of, they said, look, you know what, try to sustain it until summer, and we are going to take it from there. And I feel bad, but it is what it is. I just don't think that Ten Hag is built for that big of a job. I think he came in a wrong time at the club, unfortunately.
I won't agree with you. I won't. I can't agree with you.
It hurts me, but it is.
I think he's. So. I know he's been there. His first season, quickest games to 50 wins, 79 games. Have people forgotten that? And then obviously the season started. Key players haven't been in. I'm not going to sit here and blame it on injuries. I don't want to do it on that. Everybody's had injuries, but we've had key injuries. None of the back four. We've got Onana. God bless him, who he's bought. I don't think it's going to last too much longer at United, to be fair. He's got Bayinda, who are we going to see him? Are we going to see him play? Are these errors that the board are going to hold against Ten Hag moving forward? I mean, if he wins the FA Cup and finishes 5th, does that keep him in his job, Jay?
Yeah, I think that does.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. Just about. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like if he won the FA Cup and finished 5th, for that to happen, that means he's had a good second half of the season. And you can say, look, we're on the up. I know it's a bit of a low bar, but if we're going from 7th to 5th and we win a trophy, I've won back-to-back trophies. I'm the first manager to do that since Sir Alex Ferguson. There's an argument to be made that might convince. Also, as well, I'm not sure on the sort of the likelihood, but there's even a possibility that 5th can get you Champions League this season. I think if City and Arsenal do bits in the Champions League, so he might even be able to say, "I've got your Champions League football as well." I know that's not a given, but I do feel he'd have to do something not spectacular, but impressive in that second half of the season, because I very much feel like the jury's out for him. Yes, he had a good first season, and you're right to point out the first to 50 wins or whatever it was, or I think his win ratio, had we beat Spurs, his win ratio would have been better than any United manager, I think. I think his win percentage. But there's also, you can't ignore the negatives. We've been battered off some of our rivals, and that's not easy. It's it pains me. I'd love to disagree, to ignore it, but it's happened. We've also lost 14 times this season. Come on. It's January and we've lost 14 games, including a lot of home games to the likes of Brighton and Bournemouth and Palace. Not just the big teams, but some of the teams we should be battering. We've been beaten at home. And he's had money to spend. So there's reasons where you can go, look, this guy's had time, he's had pay, he's had money, and the results haven't been great. So for me, he's very much sort of managing for his job over these next 5 months, whatever it is. I think they seem like they're intelligent people in the they have a plan or whatever. I think they'll probably look at it and assess it in the summer. They might not. They might have already made their mind up. But I do feel like he's got to do something pretty impressive to keep his job, because I think if we finish, say, 8th and we go out of the FA Cup in the quarterfinals. I don't know if that's going to be enough to keep him in his job. I don't. It might be. They might have decided we'll give this guy another year no matter what, but I doubt it.
If the worst happens and we qualify, we have no European football. Would that work in the favour in regards to Chelsea, or do you think there'll be a mass exodus of players?
I don't particularly think there'll be a mass exodus of players. I think the trouble with United is also one of the reasons why you think there probably won't be a mass exodus of players. A lot of the players we've got are on massive wages that they ain't going to get anywhere else. So it's like, all right, I might have Champions League football, but I'm not going to earn 275k a week going anywhere else. So I may as well stomach it. So I don't know. I think you can still keep players even if you haven't got Champions League football, especially if you can show them there's some sort of plan in place and that the club's moving forward. And you go, look, you know, we've got a new manager in, or we've got a new regime in, and look, it's not been a great season, but we're determined to bounce back. We're going to buy some players in the summer. We're going to improve the squad. It's a club that's moving forward. I still think you can keep players and even buy players when you haven't got Champions League football, because we've done it in the past. We bought Paul Pogba, Henry Mkhitaryan, and Zlatan came to the club when we didn't have Champions League football. Let's not forget those. You know, it's not like Zlatan had a lot of seasons he wanted to waste, or Paul Pogba didn't have a lot of other offers or whatever. You know, these were big players that came to the club because it's Manchester United, and obviously we pay good money as well. Let's not pretend we don't. I don't think that's the be-all and end-all in terms of the Champions League football or European football. I think most players, it's Champions League, in it, to be honest with you. If we haven't got that, I still think we can attract and keep the right players. The question for me is, with Ten Hag, did the club go, right, we're going to give you another summer to bring in players, or did he go, look, you've had your chance sort of thing, it's time to give someone else a chance? I think, personally, Erik Ten Hag deserves the opportunity to work under this new regime. That's what I think. I'm almost of the opinion where, unless it's a complete disaster this second half of the season, I would give him a chance next season. I'd give him a summer where you've got people in place, where you've got this new sort of setup, and you can go, okay, let's give you the opportunity as a manager to work with the new sort of director of football, the new system. Thank you. Yeah, let's give you that opportunity. That's what I do if it's up to me. I know a lot of people disagree and they go, look, Jay, we lost all those games you mentioned. We're miles away from where we need to be. He's spent hundreds of millions of pounds, all the rest of it. I understand those arguments. I've got friends that make those arguments. But me personally, I'd give him an opportunity. And one of the reasons to give him an opportunity is, A, he's been working under a system which has gone from one end of the spectrum in terms of buying players that the manager didn't want, in terms of like Donny van der Beek or Fred for Jose or whatever, where they've gone, sorry, Solo, but the manager's obviously want him. The club has just gone, here, you're having him, to going completely the other way, where it's like the manager wants Anthony. Well, we can't get him unless we pay 80 million or whatever. We'll get him anyway. The manager wants Martinez. The manager wants Onana. The manager's now, some of these players I rate Lisandro Martinez, but it's like he's just been given a free rein to almost get whoever he wants. Sometimes you need someone to say, slow down. No, actually, we can't get you Anthony because he's too costly, but we can get you this player who costs 40 million and does a similar job. We can get you this midfielder because Casemiro for 70 million at 30 years old, we're not willing to pay that, or put him on a 4-year deal, whatever it was. I think this is what Ineos were looking at and said it was a silly deal for United to make, even though, you know, we all like Casemiro. But we can get you this midfielder who's going to be more long-term. Sometimes you need someone to do that. And that's what I feel Erik Ten Hag needs a bit of. And also, just to end on this, and people might say, oh, you deluded, or you grasping at straws, whatever. I'm old enough just about to remember Fergie went through some tough times. He did. We finished, what was it, 13th and 11th under Fergie in his first, his second full season we finished something like 13th, and his third full season we finished 11th. Like, there was dark times. Mikel Arteta, who everyone's raving about at Arsenal now, finished 8th and 8th. 2 successive seasons where he finished 8th, but the club could see what he was doing and he stuck with him. And sometimes, I'm not saying that always the case, but you just need to give a manager a little bit more time. So I'd give him at least one more season under the new regime just to see what it's about. I just would.
Well, look, if he keeps buying Dutch like he's like he wants to be, look, I mean, look, we've been linked with more Dutch players, Jay. and Dora. I mean, it's actually getting beyond the joke now. I'm hoping that this is the last of his idea of players, and now anything we see after January are going to be Ineos players. Brian Brobby, obviously, he's at Ajax and he's scored a few goals, but I don't see him as a Van Nistelrooy, and to me, that's what we're going to need. And obviously, Joshua Zirkzee, I'll be honest, Bologna did not even play in European football, I don't think. So he's only playing Serie A games and they're minor cup games. So I'm not sure these are the level of players that we should be looking at.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, for example, Brian Brobby, if I'm not mistaken,
Brobby.
if I'm massacring the pronunciation, I'm so sorry. But I mean, Ajax, especially after Ten Hag left, I think they are in the, they're going down spiral, right? They're not really good. They are currently fifth, 20 points behind. Let me see, 20 behind PSV, and this guys is probably their best. He's their best scorer. I would argue best player as well. I think he scored 11 goals. I mean, it's okay, but I think that we need someone better, more proven. If we signed Harry Kane last summer, I would be, I think everyone would be, over the moon. But I think that I'm not. First of all, I didn't see that much Ajax games. I just know that they aren't really good, and that Ajax fans are having a meltdown all over, online. And the other guy from Bologna, unfortunately, I haven't seen him play. But I mean, if these are the players that are diamond in the rough, they are maybe secretly really good. They have the potential to become something better. Maybe they have some, fundamentals to be in the Premier League. Cool. If someone, identifies that talent in them and, sees, okay, we have Højlund right now, but, we will have, for example, Brian Brobby, who is, he's 21 years old. He's quite young as well. Why not do it, right? But if it's just because he's from the Ajax, he's on 11 goals, whatever. They're fifth in the league. They're not in the best shape. I think that we need a more proven players at this moment in time. I truly don't know that much about him. But if he's good, he's good. But I'm not convinced, unfortunately.
Sorry, I feel like I don't know what the hell's going on. I thought I was having a bloody stroke. Sorry.
Are you okay?
Sorry, my shoulder's gone. My shoulder's gone a bit.
The prospects of us signing Brian Brobby's made you have a stroke. That's how devastated you are at that one.
Sorry. Oh yeah, I'm back. Yeah, that's all right. Sorry. There was one more thing that I wanted to get up before we do actually go, though, before my arm actually falls off. Jay, we've obviously they're trying to work out if they want to move out of Carrington. Maybe it's not fit for purpose anymore. And we were linked with the golf course for whatever the value was. But I found out today that the Ineos representative visited the Leicester training ground. That's the blah blah bit. But the part that I was interested in was that its designer, Mags, I'm sorry if I'm going to butcher her name, Myrna, is now the director of infrastructure at Old Trafford. Would that be something moving forward where you think that could be all part of this bigger picture type scenario?
You know what? I've been thinking for years, man. We need to get Mags Myrna. If we can get Omar Berrada and Mags Myrna and Dave Brailsford, then we'll forget your Mbappes and your Neymars and your Haalands and all that. Yeah, get Myrna and Berrada and you're set. Listen, it's good noises, isn't it? It makes sense. I remember when we moved in at Carrington in 2000. It was state of the art. Everyone was waxing lyrical about it. You could see I've been to Carrington quite a few times to do press conferences and stuff like that. And there was a time when it was amazing. It was like looked at as the pinnacle of club football training facilities. It's barely been changed in 24 years. We've put some trees up, we've cut them down, we've put some cameras up, we've took them down. It's not moved with the times. Think of how football's progressed over the last 25 years or so. We haven't, and we keep hearing these stories, don't we, that players come to United, come to Carrington. Ronnie did it. Ronaldo came to Carrington and couldn't believe it hadn't changed. We hear players coming from other clubs, and they get to Carrington and they're like, really? These are the facilities? There's something in that for me. Listen, going to a new state-of-the-art training ground makes sense. Bringing in someone who's got experience of that, letting them oversee it, makes sense. I'm willing to give, to give it a chance and to be positive about it and to back that idea, but I'd have to wait and see. It's one of them, innit? Sounds good. Let's wait and see when it happens. I'm certainly not gutted about that, but that's not the main thing I think that is like, oh, you know what? We've got to do this. It's one of the things we have to do, though. I've said that. We have to get more modern with the training ground because Carrington, man, there was a time when it was like the envy of the world, and it isn't anymore. It's just a training ground that's a Premier League training ground, and I think that's that's okay. That hasn't moved with the times, and if the best way forward is to take the 300 million or whatever it is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe's investing and to put it into a new training ground completely, then yeah, I'm all for that. And if Max Murner's the person to oversee it, then yeah, great. Do you know what I mean? It all sounds good, doesn't it? It does sound like a step forward. It just, as always, it's one of those where I'm cautiously optimistic about where we're going. That's the main thing. I just want to see it happen.
Well, look, that's all we can look. That's all we can be, and I think that's all we're going to be to the end of the season.
I'm more worried about your health, to be honest with you, Mr. B. You're doing like all this. The way you dropped it, you almost had a stroke was like the most normal thing ever. You went, oh, don't mind me, Dora. Don't mind me. I'm just losing the will to live. Don't worry about it. If I keel over, just carry on the stream without me.
I mean,
I've been on this channel for a while, but what is going on?
What is the ambulance in UK? 999. Call
999. Ring that, yeah.
Call 999.
I'll speed dial it.
I'm fine, honestly. I'm fine, man. I've got a couple of things going on. There you go. Trapped nerve. You know what? That's what I'll call it. It's definitely nothing. Look, I'm not going to say it's nothing too major, but look, it's one of those things. Maybe it's age related, in which case then look, it's about time I got some issues with my age. But look, Jay, as always, man, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I'm going to say, where can we find you like they don't already know, but I'm still going to ask you.
No, listen, you know where to find me, but I'm sorry I've not been on the channel for a little while. I love coming on this channel. It's always a great laugh, and it's always good as well to get different opinions, to hear what you guys say. You're so passionate and knowledgeable, and I love the fact that, I know you called the Man United agenda, but the only agenda you've got is you want to see United being successful, and that's what we all want, man. That's what we're all about. So hopefully, I think you started a channel at the wrong time, didn't we? We all started doing this thing when United were terrible and were struggling, and it's like, oh my God. Not only have I got to watch nonsense, I've got to talk about it as well. It's horrible. And then City are winning a treble, Liverpool are winning. Oh my God, this is terrible. Hopefully we can start doing this thing as Manchester United, turn it around and start being where we should be, which is at the very top. And yeah, I'll come on the channel again soon and chat to you both again soon, because I always enjoy it. Thank you.
Dora, I'm so glad that you're off the antibiotics and you're back to being
Maybe I should send some to you, because that trapped nerve. I will send it to you. I still have some.
You're supposed to finish your course. You're supposed to finish your course.
I did, but you know what? We have some. We go to Bosnia and we get some of their. We are in the European Union, but they're not. There is all kinds of things, but that I shouldn't discuss online. But it is what it is, right? Don't worry. They are all great. It's always a pleasure here. Always a pleasure talking with Jay. Huge fan as well. Great work with Manchester United news and everything around United. And always it's United agenda. Mr. B, you're my favorite. Don't tell OMONDI and you're my favorite.
That's all right. But the thing is, it's crazy, because I've heard you say that when bath time's on, and I've heard you say it when I'm. But it's cool. It's good. We can all beef. That's fine.
Fake news, fake news.
That's fine. But look, Jay, again, as always, thanks for watching. Guys in the chat.
Give me a text later on so I know you're all right.
Yeah, I will, man. I'll explain to you what's going on as well, man. Don't worry. I'll explain what's going on. If I don't send the message, then you know I've killed over and I didn't get out my little.
Just make sure you look after me and you will.
Yeah, you might get a bag of chips if you're lucky. But yeah, don't worry. Send me your address. I'll send you the chips, man. But guys, as always, thanks for watching. Please hit that like button on your way out with the agenda, and thanks for watching. Bye. I press.